Kia ora, I'm Asha and I will be taking you through an advanced studio Pilates program today using a lot of equipment. Alright, so we are starting off with a glute massage series using the Makarlus. If you don't have the spiky domes or the Makarlus, you can use maybe some small balls. And we've just popped the spiky tool underneath our upper glutes, and we're just starting to perform some knee fall outs, so trying to keep the pelvis nice and steady. Just inhaling, dropping one knee out to the side, and then exhale to pull in, and just letting the hips kind of roll over the spiky domes. And then from here we're just going to move those out a little bit and go into a knee fall out on one side, and then just start to press the carriage in and out, so we're getting into more of the outer aspect of the glute. And then into the other side. So we're just doing 3 of each. Just a nice way to start this program, softening a bit through the glutes. All right. From here, we're going to remove whatever tool you used to help release through the glutes. Pop them to the sides. And I'm actually grabbing on the small domes here. Again, you don't have to, you can skip this part if you don't have it. I'm just integrating some release work. And I'm going to pop these small domes somewhere, trying to aim in my mid-back area, maybe a little bit higher in between the shoulder blades. And then we're going to take the foot bar up. We're still on one red spring, or one heavy-ish spring. And then we're going to lie back down and set ourselves up for some single leg bridge work with a bit of release work in the shoulders just by having the cups there. We're going to take both of our toes to the bar, and before we put a foot into a strap, we're just taking a few prances, reaching one heel under the bar while lifting the opposite knee up, just keeping nice and steady through the pelvis, enjoying a stretch. Moving with the breath. And then we're going to pull our right foot into the big hoop first, and then start just by stretching out through the back of the leg, reaching the opposite left leg under the bar, and then we're going to start to do a pull down through the right leg while pulling the left knee up in toward the chest. Then we're going to land our left foot onto the bar, roll our hips up toward the ceiling, and then roll our hips back down. Pull back into the right strap all the way down toward the bar. The left leg comes down, lands onto the foot bar, rolls up, right leg is nice and straight. And then doing this little scissor kick swap in between reps. So we've got a single leg pull on that right side, a bridge on the left side. We're trying to find evenness through our hands, evenness through our pelvis, smoothness through our breath. Each rep is a chance to just connect a little bit more, making sure that you're neutral through your left foot when you roll up into a bridge, that there's no little bias internal or externally rotating. And then we're going to come into some mountain climbers. So there's an option to reach the left leg all the way under the bar first, and then bend the left knee up, or you could go over the bar. I am exhaling here as I go into the movement. And then we're going to hook the left leg up in front of the right foot. We're going to roll up one vertebrae at a time into a jackknife. And then we're going to roll all the way back down one vertebrae at a time. Lower the legs down. Let the feet roll back up. Roll the hips up toward the ceiling. Maybe finding a longer line each time. Rolling back down. Nice and slow, keeping engaged through the hamstrings. And then we are going to hold this one up. Hold the hips up nice and high. And then we're going to take a mountain climber. So the foot that isn't in the strap is going to come down toward our face, and we're trying to keep the carriage and rope steady just with that right foot. And just controlling the knee back down and then up. Then letting the feet come back over the face, and then we're going down through an overhead with the feet over the face, one vertebrae at a time, feet lower all the way back down toward the foot bar. And we're going to take off that strap and repeat all of that onto the opposite side. So the cups, they're still there. I'm just going to move them up a little bit and try and just target a bit more of the higher part of my traps, so mid to high part of my traps, and then do the other side. So if you do have the cups, you'll be feeling when you roll up into the bridges or the jackknives, when you come down, there's a really nice load. So starting off with the hamstring stretch, this time with the left leg, the right leg reaching under. Then we've got a few scissor pulls with a bridge in between. So on this side, I even reached my fingers down and grabbed onto the lip of the carriage, so that when I came into my bridge, I was really rolling up evenly through both hips. And in my spine, I have a bit of a scoliosis, so just a little bit of extra support is available in the hands here. And then also when I did this side, I kind of went more into a bicycle in between bridges. So roll the hips down, and then I kind of bent into the leg and then went back into a scissor. So you don't have to exactly have your legs straight, is what I'm trying to say, in between the bridging. You can play around with doing a bend and a straighten. Even taking my hands up toward the shoulder posts here, just for a little bit more extra support on the side. See how I've gone to more of a bicycle, and then now we go into our mountain climbers. So this first rep, I've got the leg over the bar, and then reaching into the opposite strap, swapping sides. Just being really careful not to let my hips hike up towards my ears. So this is a really good example of differences in sides. My left side is really different to my right side. It always gets a bit more tired. It's the side that I carry my daughter on my hip, so it needs a little bit more support. And then we're going to hook the right foot in front of the left foot. We're going to let the feet roll over the face. We're going to roll up. We're taking a jackknife, so reaching the feet toward the foot bar. And then slowly letting the feet go back over the face. And then rolling back down, one vertebrae at a time. Articulating the spine. And then just repeating that. Exhaling to bring the feet over the pelvis. Roll the feet up and over toward the face. Lift the hips up. Going into an overhead for this one instead of a jackknife. And I've even changed my hand position so I can just feel a little bit more traction in my spine. Inhale as the feet lower. Exhale, straps do most of the work. Then we start to pull our hips up. We're going to go into a jackknife for this one and hold. Then we've got the mountain climber. So the right knee comes toward the face. Then I'm going to reach that right leg back up. Both legs are straight. Left leg is really strong, really engaged, pulling into the strap. Carriage is trying to stay still. It will move if you want to just maybe go a little bit lower with your feet toward the foot bar. Once you've done 5, you're going to let the feet come all the way back over the face. You're going to roll yourself back down one vertebrae at a time. Awesome. All right, and then we'll take our right foot onto the foot bar. And we're going to set up for our core work. So we're going to take the foot bar down. We're going to take those small domes out. I'm actually going to grab these spiky dome Makarlus again, although that is not compulsory. And from here, we're going to just lie on down and get ready to go into our hundreds. Before we lie down though, sorry, we're one red, one green. We're going to add on a green spring. And I've just got the Makarlus like in my upper glute, so a little bit higher than how we started the class. And I'm going to take my hands into the small hoops, shuffle the shoulders a little bit away from the shoulder rest. And then I'm just going to reach both of my legs out nice and long before I come up into my 100. So I split my arms to a T, scoot myself up, find a long, skinny walker shape with the heels together and the toes apart. And just trying to find like a constant reach into the straps the whole time. Inhaling 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Thinking of it as a double stretch, reaching the crown one way, reaching the feet one way, hollowing out through the belly, squeeze the inner thighs together. There's a slight external rotation of the hip bones. And then coming back in and taking a nice rest before we go into our coordination. So for coordination, we are going to keep the Makarlus there. We're going to bend at our elbows, pull our knees in toward our chest and coming into a rolling like a bull position. Then straighten the arms and legs, open, close the legs, bend the knees in, and then bend the elbows back to the start. Arms, legs extend, open, close, knees in, elbows bend, arms and legs extend together, open, close of the legs, knees, arms, extend, open, close, knees first, arms, and every time that our knees and arms come back to that start position, we are in a rolling like a ball position, trying to get the head up a little bit higher, the knees in just a little bit closer, double leg stretch. You're back in that hundreds position when you do your open and close. And then on your last rep, which is going to be the next one, we're going to just do 5 open closes of the legs. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then come on down, take a rest. Okay, so we're going to go into an overhead. I'm actually going to lighten the load here, so we'll do a transition, but first of all, I'll take away the Makarlus from outside of my hips. Finding some tension with one arm in both hand loops. I'm going to come all the way up, teaser and pivot on my sacrum, take off a green spring, so I'm on just a red spring. You can also do this on that same spring. So with the overhead, we're going to reach our hands up toward the ceiling and then lower our legs down toward the foot bar. And then exhale, pull the hands straight toward the side of the body as the legs reach up toward the ceiling. And then lift the hips up and over once the hands hit the carriage. And straighten the legs past the face. That's your overhead. And then option to go into jackknife by reaching both of the legs straight up toward the ceiling and trying to find a reach of your toes toward the ceiling. Like there's ropes on your feet pulling you up and straightening you up against gravity. Then you bring your feet straight back over your face and then you roll down one vertebrae at a time, trying to keep that length in between each vertebrae. Once the tail hits the carriage, the arms will straighten back up toward the ceiling. If your hands are in the straps, your legs will lower back down. Then you will exhale to pull the hands back straight to the carriage and then roll the hips up and over. Feet straight across the face, maybe going into a jackknife, reaching the toes up. I like to do a jackknife just in between overheads to find length. Then lower the feet back toward the face and roll down. So I haven't used my hands and straps. Overhead is not my exercise. I prefer to hold on to my shoulder posts. If you're looking at the video, you'll be able to see that. And you could do 3 to 5 reps of that exercise using your exhale to roll up and over. For me, that's enough. I'm just going to take a little bridge here and then carry on and go into the next series. Okay, so after all of that core work, we're just going to take a quick little moment here, do a couple of bridges with our toes on the platform, heels lifted, just to kind of steady our spine after all of that articulation work. So I'm just holding that bridge for a little bit at the top. Don't have to do too many reps here. And then keeping the toes on the platform, press the carriage out. We're going to do a couple of prances before we come into our rowing series. So we're going to work on our transitions. As you can see, mine's not perfect, but I still try. Both hands go into the big hoop. I'm going to swivel up, and we're going to actually change the springs to 1 green and 1 yellow for our rowing series. You could also just do this on 1 red, so that's 1 heavy. I'm going to do it on 1 medium, 1 light. And then I'm swiveling myself around, and I'm going to shoot my legs into a back-facing rowing 1 series. So hands are in the small hoops, and the knuckles are at the sternum. I'm going into a C-curve roll back. Then I'm going to open my arms out wide, roll my crown forward into a spine stretch, and then just work on finding a little bit more length through the shoulders, and then up and over into a butterfly stretch. Regaining tension into the straps, back into a flat spine, knuckles back in toward the sternum, rolling the spine back, hollowing out, hundreds position with the core, pressing back into the straps, finding a little bit more extra reach, up and over, through a butterfly stretch, and then back with tension in the straps into a flat back, knuckles in between the sternum, rolling through the tail, steady, dive forward, steady. You don't have to clasp the fingers in between each rep. I'm just doing it because I felt like it today. I wanted just to find a little bit more traction. And we're going to do 5 of each of the rowing series. So I didn't do that extra reach in that last one. And then we're going to go into our, I've changed into my big hoops. Sometimes that can just be nice to get a little bit more broad across the chest. So 1 more rowing 1. Nice little fluid movement at the end. And then we're going to go to rowing 2, which is a 90-degree angle with the elbow, flat back hinge. You're taking your crown off your head up toward the sky. You're reaching your crown up and overhead down towards your feet, putting the crown on your feet, swooping your arms like you're trying to scrape the ground. Your hands go behind you, then butterfly stretch, and then come back into a 90-degree angle with the arms, flat back. So it's like a half bicep curl. Then you're elongating through your spine, lifting, reaching up and over, popping that crown onto the feet, losing a bit of tension in the straps, pulling the arms behind. I'm going to go for an extra reach here before taking my butterfly stretch. Now, the only thing about going into the big hoop is I've lost a lot of tension in between each set. So the small hoop would avoid that. I think for me, when I go into the big hoop, I can really connect into the front of the arms, so across the front of the thumb into the forearm and through the tops of the shoulders. Yeah. Maybe next time I'll do it on a small hoop. The traditional Pilates equipment has kind of more of a firm handle, and it's just easier to do rowing work, I think, with close to the traditional style equipment. So I just kind of make do with the loops. So I think this is the last one here. And we're going to transition straight away into rowing 3, forward rowing. So both hands into the straps, swivel around, find the long seat again, And then hook the thumbs underneath either the big or the small hoops. Reach the hands all the way through an offering. Bring the hands down with the arms reaching into the straps toward the carriage and then all the way up toward the ceiling. Try not to arch the spine as you circle your arms all the way out. And then reach the arms back through, fingers down first, then all the way up. So you're in two long lines. Two arms toward the ceiling, two legs away toward the mirror or the foot bar. Circle the arms around, reach. Come down toward the carriage, control all the way up. Every time the arms go overhead, you try and lift up and out of your spine. Your quads are working strong. You're almost pressing the backs of your legs down into the carriage as your arms come up, trying to just create traction. And then rowing forward, we do the same choreography, but we go through a spine stretch. Circle the arms around, reach the hands across the carriage, past the toes, and then reaching the arms actively up as you come up back into those two long lines. Try to almost imagine that you're scraping your fingernails across the carriage as you reach your arms forward. Exhale as you drive into the straps, trying to find length through the spine
really
each time. And so we're going to do one more before we come into our rowing 5. Well, I've just realized as I'm editing that we actually did hug first. It should have been shave, but we've done hug and shave. Mixed it up a bit here. So this is our rowing 6. I'm just taking a little neck stretch, and then I'm going to reach my spine back up. And then we're opening our arms up nice and wide, full wingspan, and then closing the arms as if we're hugging the tree. Trying to reach the knees as much as we can down toward the carriage and the crown up toward the ceiling. Still finding that two-way length. Spine is staying still as much as possible. It's not going forward or back. And we're doing more reps for our hug and our shave. We're going to aim for 8 to 10. Finally, shave. We're bringing our arms overhead. We're bringing our fingers behind the skull, and we're trying to drive straight up all the way, pressing the knees down and driving the arms up. So right in between the mid-back. Now, you can keep your fingertips together, your thumb and your fingertips. Sometimes I separate them a little bit just to feel a little bit more space. And you can exhale as you drive up into this one. It gets harder the further we go along. And then that's our rowing series 1 to 6 all done. So we're going to pop our straps back onto our shoulder pose. And we're going to set up for front splits. So we are keeping a green and a yellow spring for front splits. But we're going to grab this grip mat and put it onto the foot bar so that we are feeling, just mentally safe. Because this advanced variation, it's quite high with the foot on the bar. Also, what we're going to do is we're going to grab a long dowel. I don't always grab the long dowel. Sometimes it just can be nice to feel into the front split. So what we're going to do is a bit of prep. We're going to take our right foot forward onto the foot bar and the left heel up against the back of the shoulder rest. And we're just using the stick to help kind of just go out into a bit of a split. Feel what it feels like to feel nice and tall when we're splitting through our legs. Nice and square, and then just coming back in. So I'm just doing that a couple of times just for a bit of extra support. And then we're going to drop the stick down and we're going to take our hands straddling either side of the right leg on the bar. And we're just working on opening out through the right leg. Try not to twist the pelvis. Opening out through the right leg and then trying to get the forehead down toward the right shin. I'm inhaling as I come in, and then I'm just exhaling to go a little bit deeper each time I'm in the stretch, trying to scoop up into my belly, keep my rib cage connected to my right thigh. And then we're going to bring the carriage in. We're going to take our hands off of the bar, coming into the balance aspect. We're going to try and do all of that exactly the same, but with the hands off the bar. So I usually do about 3 with the hands on the bar to prep the leg, and 5 usually of this variation with our hands off of the bar. Then I'm just going to start to add an overhead reach with the arms, so I'm really long through the side of my body each time that I straighten out through the right leg. Once I've done a few like this, I'm going to start to come into my rotation, which is going to add way more of a balance component. So hands are going to be chest height. Then I'm just going to start by opening the arm and then having my gaze follow my arm. I'll come back to center and then I'll try and combine the two. So I'll try press out as I open to the other side. So open the arm and have the gaze follow. See, I'm moving really slow and intentional with this one. Having the arms open and then the gaze follow. Try not to skip the full extension of the right leg. Sometimes with the rotation, the right leg could only half bend. See if you can just get all the way out, fully lengthen through that right leg. And then about 3 on each side with this one. Then we're going to take both of our hands to the bar, pop both of our feet onto the platform, and then just come down onto the carriage through a down stretch. So land the knees onto the carriage. Get ready to go into the opposite side. So picking up the stick, starting off with the split prep variation. So with one foot onto the shoulder post and then the opposite foot goes onto the bar. Take your time to feel really square and supported. And then just today we're using the stick to see if we can just find a little bit of upright spine. How far can we go out on this side? How much can we tidy up our technique? So just using the stick to get really, pedantic with the setup so that we know what we're looking to go into. And then we'll pop the stick down. We will take our hands onto the bar. And we're starting off opening out through the left leg this time. So folding the head down toward the shin, trying to get the rib cage to the thigh, and then coming back in. So every side of the body is different. This side I'm having to work a little bit harder to get into my stretch, my full stretch. Just doing 3 or so like this. I'm exhaling when I'm in my stretch. I'm trying to soften deeper into each. Hamstring opening. Hands come off the bar. Here comes the balance. What's interesting on this side is I had to really think of trying to internally rotate my right hip, my right thigh bone, a lot more than the other side, just to keep my hips square. The right pelvis really tried to swing back. So I'm keeping my right hip rotated forward so that my hips are square, opening out through the left leg fully, adding the arm stretch once I'm feeling safe and comfortable. Can breathe either way with this one. I'm exhaling to press out into the split. And then we're going to add our balance component, rotation. Reach the hands forward. Start to rotate the arm first, then the gaze. First rep is going to be simple. Then we start to combine the two. So to open the arm, straighten the leg, and turn the head as much as we can in unison. Taking our time to go into a full rotation, bringing the carriage in, pressing out, exhaling into rotation, maybe going a little bit further with the gaze behind the body each time. Inhale to come back into center. 3 on each side. So as you can see, I have to really take my time in each rep to get into my range of motion, my full range of motion. And these are noticeably like it's noticeably harder on this side, especially for me. I just know that about myself, which is just cool to share. It's just good to kind of know that about your body. And I haven't quite finished off my reps. I just need to take a quick break here before I head back up and just take my last rotation on this side. So that's 3 on each side. And then come back to center, hands on the bar, both feet onto the platform, knees come all the way down, and we're going to take a shell pose. Press the carriage away, take the sit bones to the heels, fold forward, take some nice, big, deep breaths. And we're going to take a spinal wave to prep for our down stretch, up stretch, long stretch combo. So we're sending our hips forward into a back extension, the carriage is closed. Then we're sending our carriage back, opening up through the armpits, and then we're rounding our tail and pulling the carriage in, flexing the spine. Now for this one, we're going to do it on a red spring. You could also do it on a green or yellow spring if you wanted it to be a bit more challenging. And to get up into the movement, we're going to come through a traditional way. I'm going to take my hands wide. I'm going to go back into that down stretch, which is hips forward, carriage closed, feet up against the shoulder pose. And then kind of pushing into the shoulder post, pulling up into the belly, lifting the hips up, keep the carriage closed. That's down stretch. What we're going to do is go into an up stretch, so sit the hips back as the carriage opens. See if you can get the carriage to open a little bit more as you round your tail under. You're in like a flexed spine. And then roll the carriage in halfway and then transition into a down stretch again. So open the chest, lower the hips a little bit so it's a back extension. Then we go hips back, up stretch, open out a bit further, curl the tail under, pull through like a round spine plank, transition into a down stretch, into a back extension, open the chest, up stretch, hips back, tail lowers, round through, long stretch, down stretch, open the chest, send the hips forward. Up stretch, hip goes back, carriage goes back. Long stretch, carriage opens and comes through with the tail tucking under. Down stretch, carriage closes a little bit more with the hips through. And then we're reversing. So then we're coming up through an up stretch, carriage is closed. We're going to open the chest, lower the hips, extend the back. Then we round the tail, round the whole spine, open out into a long stretch. Then up stretch, lift the hips as you pull the carriage in. Transition into a down stretch. Once the carriage is in, open the chest, lower the hips. Start to round the tail under, open the carriage, long stretch. Pull the hips up toward the ceiling with the carriage out. Start to close. Send the chest and head through. Down stretch. One more round, long stretch. One more, down stretch. One more round, long stretch, open out. Lift the hips up. And then pulling the carriage all the way back in. And we're going to take a little breather and set up for some ladder barrel work. So with the ladder barrel work, you want to make sure that the settings are really nice and tight. So you've spun the handles at the bottom of the barrel nice and tight, and then we're going to sit on the top of the box and we're going to start to climb a tree. So we're going to hold onto the knee, we're going to roll all the way back, look behind us, and we're going to find a position that feels good on our back. So start off relaxed and chilled, and then you can take your hands onto the ladder part of the ladder barrel and just come into a bigger back extension. You're really opening up through the right hip, and I'm just hanging here. This is deep breaths, and then I'm going to grab onto my left knee again and just really pull the left knee in toward my chest, and I'm relaxing my head, neck and shoulders, taking some deep breaths. Then I'm going to grab onto the back of my thigh, tuck my chin, and start to walk my hands up my left leg, pull my left shin toward my forehead, and then I'm going to walk back down the tree, back into my back extension. Take a nice big inhale. Exhale, tuck the chin, walk up the leg, bring the forehead toward the shin. Walk back down my leg, aka my tree. Relax the chest open, stretch out through the jaw. Exhale to tuck the chin and walk the hands back all the way up. I've used my hands to support me to get up here just because of the angle that I was in. One last little flex spine position. And then we're going to pull the right knee in toward the chest and start to hang over the barrel. So again, starting restricted, then starting to add the hands and pull myself a little bit over toward the ladder. Deep breaths. Just giving everything a chance to open, that left hip a chance to open. And as you can see, I have got my reformer handily placed at my feet. You could also put a short box there in front of the barrel. From here, we're going to start to climb the tree. Tuck the chin first, scoop into the abdominals, climb all the way up, trying to get the shin toward the forehead, harder on this side. Then we're walking down the leg, going back into a neck back extension, chest extension. Exhale to tuck the chin, scoop into the belly, go up a little bit more. Walk the hands down the leg. Keep a hold of the leg. Inhale, look back, relax. And then one more here. Exhale, tuck the chin, climb the leg, forehead to the shin. Stretch one more time. Then we'll fold that leg back down. We'll do one last hug a knee in toward the chest. And then we can just come out of this back extension. I'm going to take a little gentle inversion when we come out. So pressing into the ladder and then just slowly coming off of the barrel and just folding forward for a second. Just being nice and gentle. You know, with inversions, there's a lot of blood that rushes to the head. So just take moments in between. Move slowly. And then from here we're going to come into a variation of a bicycle. So I'm going to come down through my climber tree just because that's the most supportive on my back in this moment. And then I'm just going to pull myself down, hold on to the bar, one leg straight up toward the ceiling, one leg straight over the barrel. And I'm just going to start to cycle my legs in the air. So pulling one knee in toward my chest while I really reach and stretch out and extend through the opposite hip. And the whole time that I'm doing this, I have a feeling of pulling my pubic bone up toward my chin, trying to keep an oppositional pull of my abs in this back extension, or the tail reaching under, the pelvis posteriorly tilting up toward the face. And then I've reversed my bicycles. We do about 5 each way. Just getting used to hanging out upside down. And then one leg's going to stay toward the chest. Going to come up almost through my climber tree choreography again. And then just roll all the way back up and forward. And take another little oppositional roll down before we come back into our final series, which is just going to be working on an inversion. So we're going to repeat our overhead work that we did on the reformer. So coming back down again through that climber tree variation, hands onto the knees. Hands are going to go back onto the bar, and then from here I'm just going to walk my head down a little bit lower toward the ground here. Again, you really want to make sure that the ladder barrel is fixed. I'm going to start to pull my knees in toward my face like I'm doing a rolling like a ball. And then I'm going to straighten my feet over my face, and then just roll my hips back onto the barrel, take the tail back onto the barrel. And then for this variation, I'm just going to pull my knees straight back in, do this like little reverse ab tuck. Try to bring the knees a little bit more over the face, the hips a little bit more over the face. Reach the feet out long. And then down, hitting the tail back onto the barrel, gently pulling the knees in toward the chest. Let the weight start to shift over toward the face. Roll the pelvis up toward the face, stretch the legs out over the face. And then this time I'm rolling down with straight legs, straightening those legs all the way out, lengthening out through the front of the body. And then rolling the tail back in, knees over the face, pelvis over the face one more time. This last rep, we're going to shoot the legs up toward the ceiling into a jackknife. Using the core, we're going to straighten the legs back over the face into an overhead. And then we roll all the way back down and come all the way up. Take your reset inversion. And then we're going to go over to the trap table, where we're going to go to the push-through bar with one spring loaded at the top in a long sit position, starting pushing the bar up toward the ceiling, straightening out through the body. Then we're going to lean back, we're going to exhale, fold all the way through into a spine stretch, reach the bar past the toes, and we're just going to do a little hover into a bridge. So we're just lifting the hips, straightening the legs, and just finding length here. As we go on through this series, we're going to add a little bit more. With control, we're just going to land the hips down. We're going to go back through the spine stretch. This time when we go into the hip lift or the bridge variation, we're going to go a little bit more over, tucking the tail under, articulating the spine, bending your knees, and then pressing into the feet, lifting straight up. Back extension, look behind you. Think swan. Bend the knees, lower the head, and roll each vertebrae at a time into the carriage, and then press all the way back up into a long sit. Press the bar all the way back up. Think rowing 4. And then pull the bar all the way down. Spine stretch, reach a little bit further. Let the bar help to press you back. Tuck the tail under, roll the hips under, press straight back out, look behind you, swan. Lower the knees twice. Just take a little bend and then roll the hips all the way back down. Find a spine stretch. Both feet back up against the bar, lean back, tuck the tail under, lift the hips, look behind you, hips back down, press the carriage all the way through. See how I'm just kind of doing a combination of a few different variations here, just kind of doing what feels good in my body. And then from here we're going to come all the way back up, and we are going to do a variation of control balance back. So with this one, what you'll need is 2 springs on the push-through bar and some grip mats on the frame of the caddy. And we're going to take our hands onto the caddy. We're going to take one leg onto the bar and press the bar through. Using strength in our arms and core and pelvis, will lift our opposite leg up onto the bar. And then from here, we're just going to stay in a nice long line, and then let our hips rock back, and then lift the hips all the way back up. Long line. Hips will lower underneath the head, little scoop in the abs. Exhale, lift the hips up, strong long line. Inhale to come down. Exhale to pull the hips back through under the head. Inhale and then exhale, lift the hips up, nice long line. Inhale and then exhale to bring the hips back under the body. You're going to do as many reps as possible with this one before you feel like you need to have a break, before we add the final variation, which is going to be adding a little bit more of a dramatic back extension. So I'm hopping off, and then we'll hop back up on for this hanging pull-up variation. Basically everything is going to stay the same, except we're going to add a pull-up with a back extension. So 1 foot onto the bar, nice and strong through the core and through the hips. Bring the opposite foot up onto the bar. And then we're going to pull our chest up toward the bar. We're going to look behind us, lift our hips up. That's going to be the exhale. Then we're going to let our hips come under and then try and pike our hips behind us. And then inhale, lift the chest, pull up, look behind. Exhale, hips come back, scoop the belly up. And then just repeating. So it's a big version of a spinal wave. It's a big version of the bridging spine stretch that we just did. Our last strong exercise, our last moment to do as many reps as possible. So for me, it's my forearms that get tired. Forearms is usually when I want to give up. And also, it's trying not to go really fast as the exercise gets hard. Got one more rep. And then we're coming into mermaid to cool down. So what we're going to do is leave the 2 springs on. And we're just going to take a couple of different variations of mermaid. So one hand onto the bar, we're going to reach the opposite leg out and stretch the whole side of the body. Then we're going to come back in and stack both of our knees on top of each other and take both of our hands onto the bar. Keep the head even between the biceps. Start to pull the bar down and through. And then we're going to go all the way through. Do not let go of the bar and reach the legs one way, push the hands the opposite way. And then come back into a scissors sit on the way up. Widen the hands onto the bar. Extend the back leg and fold into a mermaid stretch or a pigeon pose. And I'm just kind of doing a bit of an extension and a bit of reflection. So if you have been doing Pilates for a while, you should know different variations of mermaid. You have permission to do whatever feels good here. It doesn't have to be an exact variation of what I'm doing with mermaid. I'm going to do a little transition to the other side here. I'm going to swivel my legs all the way around and then I'm coming back into this side. And as I mentioned before, I've got a lot of asymmetries. So with mermaid, I tend to do one side different to the other side. I'm kind of completely doing what feels good here. I'll use my inhale when I'm trying to find a really big side over stretch. This next one, I'm going to take both of my hands to the bar, stack both of my knees on top of each other, fly all the way through, stretch out both of the legs, reaching the toes one way, pushing the bar the other way, coming all the way back in. And then finally, we're going to finish off with a variation of the pigeon pose. It's a little bit different on this side. Do my best to square my hips up to the ground. This is going to feel really good after all of the hard work that we've done today. So I hope that you enjoyed this workout. It is an overall workout. There is moments where your heart rate gets up. There's moments where I've paused the filming to go and have some water. But it was really fun making this, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!